Hello everybody, I'm Richard Gon of Walk to Live podcast version. And to start with, I couldn't pronounce hello everybody well this time. Not to start with, actually, what I have just told you is a kind of bizarre expression. It's a kind of a bizarre expression. Not it is. It was, past tense should have been used. Anyway, so let me do the greeting part of this episode. So, hello everybody. I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version, and thank you very much for your time for this brief moment. Anyway, I couldn't pronounce anyway, but anyway, so this time, what I'd like to talk about is, what if you die tomorrow? So, people die to start with. So, I don't know your age, but actually, so if you are in your 20s and if you are in your 30s, and I'm in my 30s, and if you are in your 40s, and you might be, for example, you may be in, for example, you may be in 90s, for example, which is why, so, whatever age you are at, you are going to die in the future. So I may die tomorrow, so which means I may die tomorrow, you may die tomorrow, even though you are younger than I am. But actually, people have certain degrees of, or people have certain extents, or certain heights, or certain degrees of possibilities to die. So which is why I created this one, and why I began to think about this kind of nasty, or this kind of dimming topic, is because there is a war between, or there is a Slavic war between Russia and Ukraine. So maybe I should say Ukraine and Russia, because I live in an Asian country, which is on the side of the United States of America. So I live in the Asian country I live in is a developed country in East Asia. So anyway, I'm not I may. You may understand which country I live in, and if you are frequent listeners of my podcast, or my podcast, so I think you know that I live in Japan. Anyway, so I have just told you the answer about which country I live in East Asia. So, and this time, what I'm going to talk about is, what if you die tomorrow? So before, I often digress in the course of speaking that, or in the course of the recording of each episode of my podcast. So thinking about such a, maybe not such a recent tendency, but actually, anyway. So I should, if I begin to record a podcast, or episodes of podcast, so I frequently, I be, I actually, I noticed that I I can I'm likely to, or chances are I frequently digress when I'm speaking out stuff, when I'm speaking out various stuff. And but actually, so in every episode, at last I was going back to the original topic of each episode. So, and I have digressed, so for some minutes. So this time I'm going to tell you the conclusion, and in this part of this podcast, I'm going to tell you the conclusion of this episode. So the conclusion is, it's necessary to think about your own futures in longer views, but you should live on trying not to regret, even though you die tomorrow. So I'm going to tell you again. It is necessary to think about your own futures in longer views, but you should live on trying not to regret, even though you die tomorrow. So I have created many episodes, and in which I have been continuous telling you that you should study, and you should prepare for your own futures. And of of course, I have told you in some past episodes, or I have told you. So let me tell you again. So I have told you in past episodes that this country, or the country I live in, has a declining population, which means the population of this country declines every year. So which is the situation of this country. So thinking about which, and I have also told you in past episodes that this country has a dimming future, and the cause of the or one of the, maybe I should say one of the causes of such dimming future of this country is that declining population, and of course there are other I think there are other causes, like for I think this or the local people of this country have really conservative thoughts or really conservative characteristics, so which I think is one of the causes of the dimming future of this country. Anyway, so maybe this time I'm not going to talk about such a conservative characteristic of the local people in this country as a whole. Anyway, so coming back to the track of this episode. So you may die tomorrow, which is what I was talking about. So you may die tomorrow and I may die tomorrow, but which is why. So I think you know what I'm going to talk about is really ideal stuff, or maybe you may think like what I'm going to talk about is unconventional stuff, because so what I'm telling you is that it's really important. You should live on. You should live on, avoiding regretting, even though you die tomorrow, because you may die tomorrow. So, for example, if you are a soldier who are going to fight against Ukraine, or fight who are going to maybe you might be in Ukraine, and you may fight you may fight against Russian soldiers as an Ukrainian soldier, or you may be a soldier fighting in favor of Ukraine, and fighting against you may fight against Russian soldiers, or vice versa is possible. You may be a Russian soldier, and I have noticed that, or the demographics of this podcast shows the which or people people in which country listen to my episodes of podcast. So which is why I have noticed that there are some accesses coming from Russian Federation, which is why there is a possibility that you are Russian. There is such a possibility. So if you are Russian, so zdravствуйте. Меня зовут Ричард Гон, приятно познакомиться. Anyway, so I'm sorry. Я не говорю по-русски. Anyway, so coming back to the original topic of this episode. So like which, if you're a soldier, you may die tomorrow, and if you're fighting against Russia or Ukraine, you may die tomorrow. But which is why. So anyway, so of course you should keep studying for creating your own bright futures. Yeah, this is important. Who is going to create your own, or who are going to create your own bright futures are you. Only you can create it. Only you can create your own bright futures. But you may not have, you may lose your own future to start with. Whatever futures you may have in the future, you may have a dimming future, and you may have a bright future. But actually, if you die tomorrow, you can't see your own futures. Anyway, so which is why, so what I recommend you in this time is that, so you should live on. You should live on trying to avoid regretting, like you should have done this, you should have done that. So if you can do if you can do something, you should do that stuff. So because you may die tomorrow. So for example, anyway, so this is just an example. I think you are studying English language, but so for example, if you are thinking of starting to study English language tomorrow, but you may die tomorrow, and you may regret that you should have started studying English, because you should have started to study English much earlier. But actually, you may if you die tomorrow, and if you have some moment before your own death, and before your deaths, and using the plural term for this. Anyway, so you may regret in the future, which is why. So if you have something you want to do, or if you have something to do, or if you have something you'd like to start, if you have something you'd like to start, so you should start, or you should start, or you should try that stuff today. So if you may regret about that stuff that you should have done, or you should have started that stuff, or you couldn't you may regret before you die tomorrow, that you should have finished that stuff. So avoiding for so to avoid such a thing, so you should live on smartly, trying not to regret, even if you die tomorrow, or even though you die tomorrow, which is what I like, which is what I'm recommending this time. So, but actually, so I'm not saying that you should play as much as possible because you may die tomorrow. I'm not saying that. So I generally speaking, or as my motto, so you should study hard. You should study hard for creating your own bright futures. And but actually, so there's a possibility that you die tomorrow, which is why, so you should live on, trying to avoid regretting that you should have played so much, or you should have studied so much. But actually, so what I'd like you to avoid is what I'd like you to avoid is such act, regretting that you should have done, or you should have done this, you should have done that. So of course, if you have studied really hard, if you have studied really hard until now, or until this present time, so you may play as much as possible, for example, only today. But actually, so because if you have kept studying and you die tomorrow, so I think you are going to regret that you should have played so much. So to avoid feeling such a thing before your own deaths, or before your own deaths. So I recommend your occasionally playing, for example, outside, or playing games, because you may die tomorrow. So which is why studying is important, or to study is important, and I think most of you have really bright futures, because maybe I think only smart people listen to this. I think only smart people listen to the episodes of my podcast. So because I mean, so if you are, for example, if you are a native speaker, if you are a native speaker of English language, or if you are a native speakers of English language, but you're listening to this episode, maybe you are on the smarter classes in your country. Anyway, so I have digressed. So maybe you could understand what I have. I think you could have understand. You could have understand what I wanted to tell you. What I wanted to tell you. So coming back to the topic of this episode. So what if you die tomorrow? So the conclusion of this episode is: it is necessary to think about your own futures in long views, including preparations for your own bright futures, or for creating your own bright futures. But actually, so you should live on, trying not to regret, even though you die tomorrow. Which is what I'd like you to know this time. So that's it. Thank you very much for your listening. See you